Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing MONOBLACK SPLINTER TWIN. Yep, you heard that right, Splinter Twin. So the way this works is Unstoppable Slasher is a 3-mana 2/3 with Death Touch. When it deals combat damage to a player, they lose half their life total, rounded up. And when it dies, it comes back to the battlefield with some stun counters on. So if you have Bloodletter of Aclazotz, says if an opponent would lose life during your turn, they lose twice that much life instead. So they lose half their life, doubled. That's all of their life. So this is our Splinter Twin here. A 3-mana card and a 4-mana card. It's close enough. I'm going to call it. This is MONOBLACK SPLINTER TWin. So that's kind of the core thing of the deck. But in order to make this work, we've got a bunch of fast mana in the form of Dark Ritual and Chrome Mox to power this out alongside our Ancient Tombs. A beautiful many swamp mana base. I just don't want to get wastelanded here. We're trying to cast 4 drops here. We've also got a 5 drop that we're casting. Speaking of 5 drops, this is a new card that we're running as well, which is pretty cool. So this is a 3-mana enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. If you control a demon, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Otherwise, you lose 2 life. So this is like a Phyrexian Arena, except it procs the turn you cast it, and it can actually drain life off of your opponent. And then the other side of this is you pay 5 mana to get a 6/6 black demon creature token with flying. The way runes work is you can cast either half, and then once it's in the battlefield, you can then cast the other half as well. So this is a win condition and card advantage. It's a great card for what we're trying to achieve here. And more importantly, it costs 2 and a black, which is a really key mana cost given the way our deck is functioning here. So we got these things. Then we just got a bunch of good black stuff, right? So we got some nice things to ramp out in the form of Opposition Agent, which can really mess our opponent. Barrowgoyf, which can offset the life loss that we might be having from our Unholy, Annex, and Ancient Tombs, as well as just being a really beefy creature. And you know what this does? It deals combat damage to our opponent, and then we get to look for a creature in the top X cards of our library, where X is the amount of damage we deal. We're trying to find creatures for our combo, so this is actively going to dig towards our combo, so I'm going to call that good. Then we have Orcish Bowmasters, which can suppress some draws that our opponents have, making them not want to cast cantrips or whatever, and punishing them for up the beanstalk style effects, as well as picking off a little creature. Speaking of picking off little creatures, we got 4 Fatal Pushes, and then a couple of Sheoldred's Edict to round that out. Because we're playing quite a heavy land count, I wanted to have a bunch of action lands, so we've got some Fell the Profane and some Boggart Trawlers here. We could maybe up these number, and we could maybe run some City of Traitors, but City of Traitors doesn't help us cast the Bloodletter of Aclazotz. I'm going to say that one difficultly every single time, I think. Anyway, so it doesn't help us cast this, but it does help us cast basically everything else. So there is an argument for having the City of Traitors here, but we're going to see how it plays with all these basics, and that's basically the deck. Sideboard-wise, you want to hate on some graveyard people here. We're obviously going to be a little bit weak to combo-y type stuff. So we've got some Vexing Baubles, the Leylines, and the Hymn to Tourach to try and deal with some amount of combo that we might be facing, as well as Hymn to Tourach being a good fair card against matchups where they're just going to be trying to outdraw us. And then we've got some more removal, and then some Plague Engineers to sweep away some little Eldrazi Spawn tokens or mess up some Cradle Control decks. And that's what we're trying to do here. So let's see if we can do the Splinter Twin at least one time here. As a fan of regular Splinter Twin, I'm certainly going to try this particular variant. Alright, remember to like and subscribe, it does help the channel out, and if you want to become a member and see my videos early, it's just £1 a month to do that. Alright, plug over and done with. Let's start Splinter Twinning in black. Okay, we're on the play for game number 1. What do we want to do first here? We could just start doing some card advantage, or we could try and mess our opponent up with an Opposition Agent. I quite like the Opposition Agent line. We can then just do a turn 2 Annex or Barrowgoyf. So we could try and get our opponent with an Opposition Agent here. Or we could just smash it down and not have to play this little game of cat and mouse, which I think is probably going to be the better line. So let's just Dark Ritual here. Let's get Opposition Agent down. If our opponent's got a handful of fetch lands, this could be a disaster for them. If they're a Doomsday deck, then they can't win well. This is on the battlefield. Sheoldred Isle. Alright, our opponent's on some spicy stuff over there. This could be a weird Doomsday list. What do we have here? So this is only a 1/2 for now. I think the play here is Chrome Mox, imprint Barrowgoyf, play Fell the Profane, or Fell Mile, whatever it's called. Let's get our Unholy Annex up and running. Bash for 3. We go to our end step, we draw a card. Okay, so that is a land or something that goes into the Chrome Mox. Or it can be... Oh, wow. Okay, our opponent's doing some milling, are they? Kind of glad we don't have that Barrowgoyf milling us a bit more. So they can't use fetch lands very effectively with this Opposition Agent chilling out here. So I think the quickest line to killing our opponent here... Like, the Barrowgoyf will get very large based on what our opponent's doing to our graveyard. So we have 2 options here. We can either play the Barrowgoyf, Or we can go and make ourselves a 6/6 demon, which will be clocking for 6 a turn guaranteed, and it will be draining our opponent out with our card advantage. But that is also something that doesn't get counterspell. So let's play this Chrome Mox first. Then we're going to imprint this Barrowgoyf because it does mill us. And our life total isn't that relevant here. Unlock the Ritual Chamber, please. Just go to end step. Alright, so now we're draining our opponent for 2, and we're bashing for a whole bunch next turn. If our opponent loses 1 life from any other method, then they can be dead next turn. You have 11 damage. They can crack this fetch land, but it's not going to do them a lot of good. Alright, we've drawn the guy that lets us come off here. Do I want to Dark Ritual this creature out? Just to make sure. I think so. There could be some soft permission over there. But if this resolves, we do just kill our opponent on our attacks. There's also a demon, so it plays with the Unholy Annex. Alright, we managed to win the game. So our opponent is trying to mill us. How do I feel about being milled? I'm not massively into it. Him to Tourach are going to be pretty good, because our opponent's going to have a bunch of stuff they're trying to cast and mill us out with. So I like the Him to Tourach. I'm not sure about the Sheoldred's Edict here. Maybe I'll cut a Barrowgoyf. It does beat, and it does get very large. I think the Bowmasters is going to be good if they're playing blue. I'm not really sure what is in a mill deck. I imagine it's just crabs and spells that go to the face, right? For milling potential. I think we want to keep our combo in. Obviously, Opposition Agent was pretty good there. Okay, let's just take out Barrowgoyf and see how that goes. Is Barrowgoyf better than Unholy Annex? Honestly, this card massively impressed me just now, the old Unholy Annex. So, what does our hand do here? We can kill a guy, then we do nothing on turn 2. Kind of slow. It's kind of slow. But I do like being able to answer their repeatable miller. So what can we draw? Chrome Mox or Dark Ritual. So we've got 8 draws that will speed us up, or an Ancient Tune, that's 12 draws. Alright, we'll give this a keep. We get rid of their repeatable mill in the crab. We have the Unstoppable Slasher, which may or may not be great here. We'll find out. An Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, so now we've got something to fill up our curve here. So they can play a guy. We can fail push it next turn. We can Bowmasters. Hedron Crab. Alright, we'll mill some cards. Let's try and push this now. Look at Days, pick up a land that then gets to come back again and do some more milling, but no. I'll play out the Swamp, and I'll pass. I'm going to see any sort of cantrip here that we can punish with the Bowmasters. What does this do? Target player mills 3 cards, and if a graveyard has 20 more cards, then draw 3 cards. Otherwise, you draw a card. Target player mills 3 times X. Okay, I'm not really familiar with this one. So try and get this Bowmasters in. Alright, we're getting a Force of Will for that one. Sure. So what are we doing here? Are we slashering or we Barrowgoyfing? Barrowgoyf hits for 4 returns, so the slasher... I guess the slasher can give us the Splinter Twin next turn if things go well. What are the other things? Target creature gets -3, -0. Right, we just got a Force of Will over there. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand. We can Fell the Profane this if we draw a land. That's the thing we feel we need to do. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand. We got a lot of cards left in our library. I think I want to play the Barrowgoyf here and just get some damage going. And then we can pivot into this Fell the Profane to blow up this Jace. Because they can kill this Jace to -2 it, and then we don't have to answer it. Or they can +1, which doesn't get them a lot of value, and then we can just Fell the Profane it. Yep, so they're shrinking our guy. Still going to crack for 1, and we're going to put a Planeswalker in the graveyard here. Swamp is good. That means you can play around something like a Daze. Just Fell the Profane here. We get to attack for 6 now with our 2/6. We do get to mill ourselves, which isn't necessarily what we want, but I will take the card advantage for now. We can always say no to this. It is an optional one. But I do love the value so much that I might put ourselves in a sketchy position by just wanting those extra cards. Next turn we're looking at Barrowgoyf plus Bowmasters, which is 8 recurring damage and 1 to the face. So that should be the most effective way that we can... Alright, we've got some high CMCs in our deck. Alright, they milled 11 cards. Secretly good against the mill deck by having high CMC cards, having a bunch of cool stuff. Like Opposition Agents, they can't crack fetch lands. We don't search our own library. Alright, they want the Tasha's Hideous Laughter. That's fine. I think that probably on average gets like 10 cards from our deck. Alright, let's Barrowgoyf. I don't think we need to mill anymore. 5 is a big chunk. That helps our opponent out in a big way. Let's just get our creatures down. We know what our opponent's drawing anyway. We have a lot of lethal damage coming in next turn. This is not going to mill 28 cards. It milled 18. That's quite a high one. That must have hit a lot of lands. But now our opponent is dead on board. And we have the match. Game 1. We didn't get to... so round 1 we've won. We didn't get to Splinter Twin. But we did play the demon to just make sure that we could win immediately, which is pretty cool. Alright, round 2. Let's have a crack at that one. So what we got here? We got turn 2 Unstoppable Slasher. Like, we didn't come here to not cast the Slasher, right? So I think we can keep this one. I don't know if I want to play out this Fell the Profane to get the 3 damage out of the way, because it does expose us to a wasteland. But we'll see what information our opponent gives us with the deck they're playing. Alright, so this setup could be like Doomsday, could be the Frog Reanimator deck, could be Tempo, whether that's Grixis or Dimir. There's a lot of options of what our opponent could be playing, and a lot of those options have wastelands in. I did not use Ponder's ability, so I'm going to play out the Swamp here. Opposition Agents. Not quite the one we want right now, but we're just going to keep making big 3-drops and seeing if it gets us over the finish line here. Psychic Frog, you say? You know what's pretty good against Psychic Frog? Death Touch creatures. Also Fatal Push. What do I want to do here? We probably should just Fatal Push this, which probably means you play out this Ancient Tomb. It does expose us to Wasteland. The other option there is to pay 3 life with the Fell the Profane. Maybe that's slightly better, because if they wasteland that, it doesn't set us back curve-wise. But then that's just a lot of life we're giving up, and potential removal spells for future Psychic Frogs. Right, another Psychic Frog, you say? Alright, so they're on a Grixis plan. So we played around the days last turn. So we probably want to play around the days this turn, if possible. And it is possible. Alright. Do I like Barrowgoyf more than the Slasher here? It's going to make it very easy for us not to fall behind in a race. So I think we are playing the Barrowgoyf rather than the Slasher here. And then in theory, our next 2 turns are probably going to be something like Fell the Profane into another Fell the Profane. We've got a big Death Touch lifelink body here. Is it going to get 2 cards out of our opponent in the form of Force of Will, blue card? Or are we going to stick this and hope they don't have Fetch Land Fatal Push? They probably have Lightning Bolts in their deck for reach, and those won't be able to target our Barrowgoyf in a meaningful way to kill it. Actually, is that true? Because they can remove cards with a Psychic Frog. Yeah, maybe it doesn't quite work. Alright, so we're getting a 2-for-1 out of our opponent that way. But our opponent's going to draw up from this Psychic Frog. They now have Delirium with their Dragon's Rage Channeler. The wheel's falling off a little bit for us. They pitched a daze, that Force of Will, the days that we've been playing around. So maybe we can not play around it. The 3 life on the Fell the Profane is a lot. We're going to have to make some decisions. Maybe we'll draw something that will change things up for us, and we'll be able to thread the needle a little bit better. So what do we want here? Maybe a Dark Ritual allow us to double spell. A Boggart Trawler. Weirdly useful. So we could Boggart Trawler. That exiles their graveyard. It's surprisingly good here. Is that better than our other options? So we could Boggart Trawler, play Fell the Profane tapped, and then have a Fell the Profane next turn. Because if we play this, and they do have a like a Forcible blue card, and we take 3 life, that's going to be huge. It's actually going to be like 5 life, isn't it? I think this is better than the Slasher, honestly. Like, we are fighting from behind here. But we can shrink this Nethergoyf and this Dragon's Rage Channeler. That's a lot of damage we're preventing this turn. And play this tapped, so that we've got a bit more mana to work with next turn. So we're more likely to be able to double spell. So if we can leverage all the cards in our hand, we might be alright here. So they could discard everything in their hand to make the Psychic Frog jump. If they attack us with the Psychic Frog, we'd probably block here. Alright, we're getting a Molten Collapse. It's a Molten Collapse. Okay. So they're going to Surveil away any card here, I think, right? Just to get some more stuff in the bin. It'd have to be a very good card to stay on top. I think you'd probably even get rid of... Okay, fail push. I was going to say, you'd probably even get rid of a cantrip here just to put stuff in the graveyard. Unless it was a... I guess if it was a sorcery, then it's not going to impact that much. Alright, so we're getting hit for, what, 4 this turn? So if we Fell the Profane next turn, what does that actually do for us? Right, so getting rid of a daze, just to get an extra bit of damage in there. Right, they're playing out their land rather than feeding it to the frog, which suggests they might have a 2-drop here. So 2, 3, 4 mana. So we can Fell the Profane, kill this. That puts us down to 5. This will hit us for 3. This will hit us for 1. Will this give them Delirium? Yes. So we can't do that. So we're probably on Unstoppable Slasher into Sheoldred's Edict. don't think I'm playing this Fell the Profane out. We might need it as a removal spell. It's getting a bit dicey with this old Ancient Tomb. Wouldn't mind finding an Urborg to ease up on that a little. They have a Surveil land here, like a Thundering Falls or the other one. No. Alright, we're getting bolted at end step. Petty Theft. It's a miserable one there. So if we... So this is going to get bounced. If we Sheoldred's Edict here, they get rid of this, they kill us. They get rid of this, they kill us. They get rid of this. They deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so whichever creature they get rid of will kill us. Okay, a little bit tough to get through that one. But we've got some nice tools here. Daunt Plague Engineers. What are they going to name, realistically? They've got a wider spread of creature types than they used to have, so I don't think that's going to work for us. Vexing Bauble can stop some of their like annoying tempo-y things, but is that how I want to play this game? I think we probably want to get rid of one of these expensive 4-drops. And maybe get rid of one of these. Just have a little bit of extra removal. Like, there's certainly an argument for pretty much all of these cards in our sideboard. Like, you could play the Engineer because it can always trade with their Ground Pounders. You could play the Leyline of the Void to shut down their... the Leyline of the Void does shut down quite a lot of their stuff, doesn't it? Am I into that? Maybe we trim a Slasher. We just sort of trim a bit more of this stuff. Like, we can still just make a 5-mana 6/6, and that's probably okay. How do I feel about Opposition Agent here? It's fine. Do I want all 4 ley lines? We could maybe just hedge with 3. I know that sounds weird, but we're not like desperate to have one. We definitely don't want to draw 2. It just means if we have one in our opener, it's pretty good. I believe that. And, like, you know, we can cast one down the stretch. We just don't want to get flooded on them. And that's okay. Ideally, we want to be able to make a play on turn 1. That was where we kind of fell behind. Because our opponent came out the gates doing stuff and getting some threats on the board while we were kind of just twiddling our thumbs a little bit. Because we had to play reactive and start fatal pushing their guys instead of being the one who was proactive. Well, I'll keep this one. So we start with the Leyline in play. We Dark Ritual out the Barrowgoyf, so we'll have a 1/2. Not the most impressive thing. But all it needs to do is connect once and then we're probably be cooking. Maybe we could run fetch lands and surveil lands in our deck as an option. Alright, Dark Ritual. Let's get the big old Barrowgoyf. The enormous 1/2 beast. This might be good enough for a Force of Will, then we'll trade 2 for 2 in total for this play. But that's the only counter spell they can have that will impact this. Alright, so we got the Force of Will getting rid of a Ponder. Sure. So that makes the next Barrowgoyf better. Interesting, got rid of Ponder there. A little bit of anti-synergy between the Leyline and the Barrowgoyf here, but our graveyard can get stocked up pretty good. Am I just playing out this Boggart Trawler as a 3/1? I think so. No graveyard for you, opponent. Doubly so. But we have a clock here. Our opponent's removal is much more likely to be along the Fatal Push lines than the Lightning Bolt lines. Either of which can hit this if they want to, but then that's removal that's not pointed at one of our slightly better creatures. Wasteland. Are we losing our Ancient Tomb while we get to bash for 3? Or are they going to kill our creature as well here? Just sort of reset the game. Lightning Bolts? Or are we pondering? It's a bolt. Okay, so just resetting the game. Okay. So Psychic Frog can never jump while this is in play. We've got an answer to their first creature. They can't ever play a Murktide. A Nethergoyf does nothing. A little Froggy. This off around Days. And this also plays around a Force of Negation if our opponents brought those in thinking there was some kind of Helm combo deck or whatever. Alright. First person to draw something good probably wins this one. Well, we drew a very powerful card. It just does nothing at this moment in time. New Leyline on the Void artwork's pretty cool. Be nice if we got a different black Leyline though. It's always the same one, isn't it? An Orcish Bowmasters. Alright, we can wait till our opponent's turn for that one. We might be able to ping off a little creature if they play like a Nethergoyf, expecting to try and bounce something later on. Or they could play out a Channeler. Oh my god, they play a Brainstorm here. That'd be savage for us. Let's get the Bowmasters in, get some value, taking out this Dragon's Rage Channeler. Pow. Get into exile. Okay. Can we draw some more big beasties? No. We'll keep this in hand so we're immune to wastelands on them because we might have a 4-drop we want to cast. Like the big boy. Or a 5-drop like making a 6/6 demon. We probably just play the 6/6 demon side. Molten Collapse here on the Bowmasters. That's what this mana suggests to me. There it goes. 3 cards left in our opponent's hand. Can we just draw something good? I take something medium at this point. We have drawn a lot of lands and mana sources in general. 2 rituals, 2 tombs, 4 swamps. It's quite a lot. Obviously, a lot of our deck is mana, so that's not out of the question. And we do have stuff like Boggart Trawler to offset that a little bit. Right. Battle of the 1/1s. Their 1/1 allows them to scry, though, which is pretty good. Sorry, surveil. Not quite scry. Command deck. A Bowmasters, you say? I will take it. Just ping off your guy, and we get to bash for 2 now. They didn't have any removal spell they want to fire off, so I imagine this Orc is going to connect. If they've got a spell here, they should have cast it in response to the Bowmaster, so they at least got the Surveil, but they didn't have a spell. So my read was correct. Just a turn, our opponent drew a Brainstorm, perhaps. That's normally what happens when your opponent plays a Bowmaster. You immediately draw your cantrips. Okay, that is one of the sort of cards I'm after right now. So, do we want to be drawing cards? So how much mana do we have here, actually? So we need 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can do both. Which is the more important half at this stage of the game? I think it's the big friend, isn't it? Let's cast the Ritual Chamber and just try and get this game over and done with a massive creature before our opponent can draw out. This will give us lethal next turn by casting this one. And if this resolves, we can unlock it using the Dark Ritual. And that will drain our opponent for 2 as well as drawing us a card. This chamber card is pretty darn good. Maybe we should be running more of these in this matchup. Maybe they are just real good. We don't have to cast the Annex side. But the mana cost is a bit steep on it, is the only thing. The Leyline was pretty good, I have to imagine. Do I want this? If we want to play these, maybe we'll trim 1 slasher and just have 3 of them. If we want to get flooded on, then we want to have a density of 3 drops. We've got a 4 drop here. We've got a couple of 4 drops. I think that's fine. We've still got our combo available. I hope you like Opposition Agent, opponent. Because that's all we have here. I think this is reasonable, though. Right, Ponder with a shuffle from our opponent. What do we have here? I love drawing a swamp here. Let's play a Chrome Mox. What are we going to imprint to this? One of our many Dark Rituals, no doubt. So I think we're going to cast a Dark Ritual here, playing around days. We're just going to get this Opposition Agent up and running straight away, so our opponent can't do anything about it. And if they try and kill this, we can then Dark Ritual in another one. Or we can just do that in our opponent's turn anyway, and have some surprise damages. There is a Volcanic. There is a Lightning Bolt for our Opposition Agent. Let's Dark Ritual. Let's cast another Opposition Agent. So this way we always have the Opposition Agent effect in play. I'm not sure what they could be searching their library for after they've done this. Maybe they've got like a Swamp Cycler or something that they want to fire off. But they just can't do that when we have the Opposition Agent, so it's the correct way to play that. We're still going to be clocking for 3 a turn. If we draw land, we can remove their graveyard, and that will slow down potential Murktides. It will weaken the ability of a Frog to jump. It will stop Dragon's Rage Channelers being online. So it's definitely the way we want to go. Opponent's thinking long and hard about this Brainstorm. So this Brainstorm will lock them because of our Opposition Agent. They can't do any sort of fetches with it. Right, let's bash with our Opposition Agent. I think we need to keep up the pressure because we're kind of running on fumes a bit. We need to kill our opponent before they get to make something out of the cards in their hand. So we're just going to start trawling. Is this a card that you even want to spend a counterspell on? Not really, but it might be one they have to spend a counterspell on. I'm obviously happy to have an additional 3 power in play. That gives us a 3-turn clock. Reduces our opponent's ability to do stuff with their graveyard. Alright, we got days out of it. That's something. Our opponent knows what they're drawing this turn. They can fetch to shuffle, but we will get to get the thing that they are searching for. Because of how Opposition Agent works. You can still shuffle your library if that's what you need, if you think it's worth losing a land to shuffle, if you've done a bad Brainstorm or something. My opponent's only got 1 more card to draw through. No Molten Collapse or anything here. We could see Bolt again. Ooh, the Slasher. I don't mind the Slasher. Again, we are just ramming into days here. We don't know when we got another land coming. We just need to keep the pressure up. Halving your opponent's life total when they're getting low anyway isn't the best, but it's still 3 damage. And if this gets into play, our opponent won't be able to permanently remove it. Okay, so we're getting a Force of Will, pitching a Brainstorm. Because they won't have any exile removal, it'll just keep coming back, which is really irritating for them. Alright, they've got a Wasteland that doesn't impact us. They're Wastelanding their own Volcanic Island. We're getting a Murderous Cut. Oh no, they just need to Fatal Push our guy to unlock their fetch land. Or whatever. Alright, an interesting exchange. Can we find something to now get up ahead here? Not really. Am I playing this out? No, because it can just get hit by a wasteland, and that can deny us 4 mana if we draw the demon, or deny us the mana to pay around a days. I suspect our opponent's playing a fetch land this turn, though. No. A Nethergoyf, 3/4. We can certainly answer that with a bunch of stuff in our deck. We've also got some creatures that are going to be much more impactful than this. We need to draw them. A Sheoldred's Edict, you say? Alright, let's back to our opponent now. Sheoldred's Edict is always going to kill their weakest creature. Right, so our opponent's going to attack first, and then we will kill this. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. So if they've got a land, they might be able to bring this back. Alright, they're just pondering. I imagine they don't have many additional types to put in their graveyard here. Maybe a Mishra's Bauble, so possibly it was worth pondering first, so you had the Bauble so that you could attack for an additional point of damage with your Nethergoyf. That's certainly a thing that our opponent could do. But we're now just in the old top deck mode here to see who draws better first. Our opponent's got a couple of cards in the grip after this Ponder resolves. We're hoping to see a shuffle here and a random card off the top. They did shuffle and take a random card. Alright. If they pass it back to us, we're going to be more or less parity. Our 2 cards versus our opponent's 2 cards, but we maybe get to act first. One of our cards is an Urborg, but one of our opponent's cards could be a land. An Orcish Bowmasters, you say. Bit late to the punch. We're going to wait to see if we can use it as a removal spell for something. It's unlikely, but possible. We also might get our opponent with another cantrip and just get a little bit of additional value. Right. No fear of our opposition agent. 3 mana. What is this going to be? It's a Murktide. Feels like a Murktide, the amount of time they're spending. Oh no, they just bring back the Nethergoyf. Sure. I think we do just get this down now. So we're looking for Death Touch creatures and that sort of jam here. A Dark Ritual, you say? That is the downside of having all this mana in your deck to ramp stuff out. Which is why I quite often play mono black decks without Dark Ritual, and everyone in the comments goes, why aren't you running Dark Ritual in your mono black deck? Well, this is a good example of why you may not want to do that. You don't get to be as explosive, but in a situation like this where you're trading resources backwards and forwards, you end up with more resources. Alright, I think we can afford to take 3 here. It might grow larger later on, so if we can save 4 damage down the line instead of 3 damage now, that works out better for us. Another Swamp. We are bricking off quite hard here. Right, so they're going to bash us for 6 this turn. I think we take the 6 and go to 11 here. And then next turn we consider blocking. Depending on what we draw, it might change things. If that slash had resolved earlier, we'd have been in such good shape. A Barrowgoyf. Let's go. Okay. So now we have the biggest Goyf in town. How do you like them apples, opponent? I still think we're going to keep the Bowmasters and stuff back here. We're getting petty thefted. I can feel it. That's what this pause is. Bounce your Barrowgoyf. Attack. Force you to lose one of your Bowmaster guys. We at least get the Barrowgoyf down next turn, ideally. Yeah. As predicted. Unfortunately, our Barrowgoyf does not have flash, so we can't Dark Ritual it in. Probably for the best, that one. So we're going to send an Orc army under the bus this turn. Our opponent's holding out for this Brazen Borrower. Do they have an answer to our Barrowgoyf? Can we draw an additional threat to go alongside it, or a piece of removal? If we draw a Leyline, we can cast it. It doesn't actually shrink these, unfortunately. Don't really want to draw a Leyline. A Ritual Chamber. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So I can play both of these, but we will be playing the We Lose Life half, which feels a little bit loose. So I think we are on Barrowgoyf this turn. I think I play out the Urborg here. We can't afford to put this into play, but it means that we might have more mana next turn to do play and flip it and try and get some life drain off of that. If they put the Brazen Borrower into play, that's reasonable for us. If they put this into play and then follow up with a removal spell on our Barrowgoyf, then that is lights out right there. But they can chip away for 3 in the air, just playing a land out. That's not so bad for us. Alright, now they're cracking that. What are they going to have here? This could be a Fatal Push with Revolt. There it is. Okay, so we block this, take 6, go to 2, and then where are we looking at here? It's going to be tough. Going to be a tough one. It didn't attack. That must have been a misclick. I will take that. We need all the help we can get here. Fatal Push. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we could get the Ritual Chamber going. Can I have a 6/6 flyer, please? Can. Okay, that is definitely useful. Next turn we can maybe unlock the chamber and drain for 2, but it becomes a little bit sketchy for us. Our Fatal Push can't hit the Brazen Borrower, but if they kill our demon or make it leave play... An Orcish Bowmasters, you say? Alright, I definitely don't want to unlock the other chamber now. So this is going to come down. We're going to lose our Bowmasters. Do I want to Fatal Push the Orcish Bowmaster? Oh, sorry, the Brazen Borrower. Because this will be our only shot to do that. So if we get rid of the Orcish Bowmaster, then what? Sorry, not the Orcish Bowmaster, the Brazen Borrower. If we get rid of the Orcish Bowmaster, we just die here, right? Because if we could kill this, we block this, we take 3, 6... 3, 6, 7. So we can survive on 1 if we Fatal Push this Borrower. Sorry, if we Fatal Push this Bowmaster. If we Fatal Push the Borrower, I don't think we've Fatal Pushed the Borrower. What have they got in their graveyard? If we kill a creature, their guys get bigger. So we probably have to block Nethergoyf, kill Nethergoyf. Take 5. Ugh. Not a big fan of that. So if we block here, then we kill the Nethergoyf. That saves us the most damage here. Because if we kill a creature here, then the Nethergoyf hits us for more damage. Obviously we lose to Force of Will here, but we can play around days. If we draw that stupid demon that doubles the amount of damage we do, we can just kill our opponent next turn though. That would be very funny. Ponder from our opponents. We've only got 2 of those demons in. We could bash for 6, drain them for 2, and then what? Hope to Bowmasters them somehow? It's going to be difficult. We're dead to a lot of things. Murktide region, that's pretty large. It's certainly bigger than our 6/6. Alright, what is the solution to this problem? Not sure there is one. An Orcish Bowmasters. So we can block here. We can ping this down. We have to ping this down. Which means we can't flip this unless we want our opponent to get a ping off. But maybe that's okay if they get a ping off. We get a drain 2. They get to do 2 damage to us. That's kind of cost neutral this turn, but then next turn we're in the trouble zone. Do we need to make our opponent cast a cantrip and then maybe get some extra pings? Is that level of what we're trying to accomplish here? I really don't want to unlock this Unholy thing, but part of me does. That is probably madness at this point. Let's not do that. So we need our opponent to cast a cantrip and try and find a way through. They're probably just going to attack with everything here. So we cast our Bowmasters. Our opponent doesn't have Force of Will mana. Let's ping this down. This can block their Bowmasters. This has to block their Murktide Regent. And then I think we take the 1. That leaves them with a token creature and a non-token creature. Now, they're probably just going to bring back their Nethergoyf. A Psychic Frog. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. We are certainly in trouble. What does this do for us? We play this. It blocks this. This blocks this. This attacks, pitches 2 cards, we die. I don't think we have a route out of this one, unfortunately. What could we possibly draw from this? We can't play this and activate this. I think they just about have enough to get through us here. We run them close, but we did brick off on lands a bit. Unfortunately, that is the match there. No shame losing to a blue-black shell deck in Legacy these days. Alright, on to round 3. Alright, our opener has a black source. I think we keep this. We can turn 1 an opposition agent into turn 2 Barrowgoyf. I think that's going to be better most of the time. I'll pay 3 life here. I don't think I want to do the whole opposition agent now. I want them to crack this fetch because they already have a fetch. They might crack it end of turn to get a surveil land. I don't want to play this Chrome Mox play around of days because our play kind of... Or we might get them here. We might get them. It's a horrible feeling when you crack a fetch and your opponent starts doing stuff. Let's get some information or get 2 cards out of our opponent's hand. Or we are just in. Oh, we got Solitude. That's probably the only thing that's helped him here. Okay, so we got some stuff going on over there. What would I like from our opponent's deck? Like an Underground Sea is obviously... It's not actually that good for... I think we just want to swamp, weirdly. So they got Archon of Cruelty, Reanimate, bunch of other stuff. Was in their deck. So I'm just taking a little screenshot of this because it goes away. So we got Thoughtseize, Reanimates, Force of Wills, Attracts there. So the heavily... Oh, Otherworldly Gaze as well is interesting. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, it doesn't show what they had in hand. So I have to have it in this little extra window here. So Dark Ritual and some other stuff. Underground Sea. Let's get jabbing. I'm not going to play this swamp that our opponent so kindly gifted us because we don't need it just yet. Let's jam the Goyf. Our opponent didn't have a daze when we picked up the hand a minute ago. Next turn we can play the Bloodletter and deal, what, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At least 10 damage to our opponent. That's going to turn Reanimates right off. Alright, our opponent's got a Wasteland now, which is why we took the swamp from them. Because we want to make sure we have a black source that couldn't be wastelanded. Obviously we've drawn our own swamp now, so that's fine. Okay, so we don't get to make our super scary monster this turn. Not that it's that scary. I think I'll play one of these swamps here. Let's see if we can find like a Bowmaster or something. Let's say yes to this. Nothing. Didn't even grow our friend. Alright. Next turn we might be able to do the Bloodletter and try and kill our opponent. So these are the cards we've seen. So we've already got rid of the Brainstorm and the Underground Sea. So we know they've got Dark Ritual, Reanimate, Archon of Cruelty, and Valvagoth. An Opposition Agent. I don't know what land I'm playing here. Because I don't know if we're going to cast something better off of our Barrowgoyf hit. So I think we are just going to attack. We could try and play the Opposition Agent pre-combat and see if it gets counterspelled. Still nothing. So I think we just want the Opposition Agent. If they kill our Opposition Agent and think they've got a free run and entomb, we can just say no to that and annoy our opponent in a different way. Alright. The power of Opposition Agent getting there. Okay, so first things first, I would like to have 4 Leyline of the Void in my deck. That is a given. The Sheoldred's Edicts also look pretty tasty here. Vexing Bauble, it's not really the matchup it's for. Like, it does do some stuff against our opponent, but this is mainly for like Storm combo decks, stuff like that, where we have 0 drops and they can just kind of beat whatever we're doing. Do I want him to Tourach? I don't really want to help our opponent out if they can't get stuff in the graveyard. Don't really want the Plague Engineer, so I think it's just these 6 cards. Which then begs the question, what are we sideboarding out? We need to kill Psychic Frog. We need our removal for their big guys. The Opposition Agent is actively good against a deck playing Entomb. So we're probably trimming from this selection of cards. Do we just trim 2 from each selection? That seems a little bit lazy if I'm being honest with you. But I think that's what we're doing. Because we still want to have this in there. Like the Bloodletter is still fine and does some interesting stuff with changing their clock dynamics. And I do like this Unholy Annex. Maybe I like the Unholy Annex more than the Bloodletter. Alright, let's try that. We will try and Splinter Twin somebody this league. If it takes the last match, then so be it. Alright, we start with a Leyline of the Void in play. We have some other good stuff going on. We have an answer to a Psychic Frog. We have a nice threat of our own. We have a really good card against all their cantrips and stuff. I'm feeling pretty solid. Our opponent's probably boarded out some of their graveyard stuff. Seeing a mono black deck, you're expecting Leylines, you're expecting possibly Fairy Macabres and some other stuff. You know, you're expecting a heavy graveyard presence, possibly Daffy Voidwalkers from us. There's a lot of different graveyard hate we could play that is good, that is seeing a lot of play right now. Alright, I'll play out this swamp. I will not fatal push a frog if they play it now. I will go to my turn and try and play it and try and push it around a daze. Here comes the frog. Boom, there it is. I don't believe our opponent would have boarded in a Force of Negation in a matchup like this. Let's just push this now before our opponent can untap, dig for stuff, or, you know, whatever. You know, Brainstorm for an answer. Maybe they got Spell Piercers in their deck. We just have to take the opportunity, and it worked, which is nice. Alright. So what are we up to now? Are we Barrowgoyfing? It's a 1-2, which is fine. Is that better than getting this Bowmasters down? I don't think so. I think we just want the Barrowgoyf here. Our opponent can reanimate cards from our graveyard, but the Barrowgoyf lets us have first dibs of what comes back once the trigger happens, because the trigger happens all at once. So it's not like they have a window where if they had some random instant speed thing, they could do that. Alright, we're going to lose our Ancient Tomb here. Glad we got this Barrowgoyf out when we did. It does grow our Barrowgoyf though. We're getting pushed. We are getting pushed. So this gives them something they can reanimate, which isn't the worst. Yep, that's exactly what they're doing. So our play this turn is going to be to edict this away, because we can't allow them to have this. Each opponent sacrifice a non-token creature, please. We do it now to play around our opponent having more mana. This does expose us to our opponent having another reanimation spell, but they can just do that in the second main if we wait till their combat. And we've already seen Dark Ritual, so we don't want our opponent to be able to Dark Ritual out a Force of Will or anything like that. An Undercity Sewers, sure. So now we have 2 options to hold up on our turn. Sheoldred's Edict. I would like to double spell potentially. And I would like to have the ability to play this Opposition Agent around Daze. It's going to be a frog. It's going to be a frog. Let's get an Opposition Agent in there. This is the most mana efficient play. I will play the land out. Each opponent sacrifice a non-token creature, please. Like, we could try and attack and make them discard cards. But this way we know if we're attacking this turn or not. Because they block. Alright, so this is the reason why we might not want to do that. So they got 1 card in hand. Would they like to trade their Psychic Frog and a card for our Opposition Agent? I don't believe they would. We reckoned correctly. So we can block this with an Orc Army token so it can't get a card draw. Which I think is the correct thing to do here. In with the Bow Boys. So we can ping this for 1. And then force a discard to keep it alive. So we block here. They have to discard a card to keep this alive. Yeah, another Worldly Gaze. Not doing the most for them right now. So Fatal Push is good, obviously. Opponent's got no cards in hand. You know what? I'm going to play this Ritual Chamber. Okay, this card is absolutely brilliant. I'm loving this. Every time I cast this, I'm having a wonderful time. We have lost after casting this, but this appeals to me a great deal. Splash with a little Opposition Agent. We can't hold it back to blocks because they can always deal with that. I guess if we keep both things back, but we just want to be able to clock our opponent next turn and send something under the bus. All right, we got the match against the best deck in the format. This is a slightly different build. This build has got Dark Rituals and is going a little bit faster, so it's trying to go underneath the other decks, and that's how it's trying to win the mirror, which is interesting. But we managed to give it a good smashing there. Leyline of the Void is coming in clutch today so far. Let's go to round 4. Okay. Let's get slashing, I guess. Turn 1 slasher, turn 2 slasher. So the correct play here is probably Opposition Agent at the end of the day, rather than the slasher, which makes me sad. But I think we're going to play optimally rather than slashering here, because this is obviously something that can just completely stop our opponent from being able to win the game. They picked a Psychic Frog, so they obviously needed to get that gone. They probably didn't have any other blue cards. Psychic Frog, obviously a pretty high premium. Please don't wasteland me, opponent. Why would I say that? Here comes a wasteland. And we never get to cast any spells again. I feel it in my bones. We know they got a Fetch Land in hand. Or an Entomb. Because you would probably not be interested in casting the Force of Will on that if you had the ability to just play a normal-ish game with that Psychic Frog. Thoughtseize. Slasher, Slasher, Barrowgoyf. I guess they get rid of the Barrowgoyf here. And they leave us on Slasher Town. Little zombie assassin. They took the Barrowgoyf. Not a surprise. They could reanimate our Barrowgoyf if they're on that flavour. The first Opposition Agent was good. I think we want the second one to... We can't really keep our opponent off of black here, though. Now that we've got the Urborg, they're fine. So I think the one thing this Opposition Agent does is stop them from entombing. Do we do it now? I think so. Stop our opponent having more mana. I want to get these slashers in play. I want to do that, but I think the objective correct play to stop our opponent from entombing a giant monster is sadly the way forward. And I don't want to try and get them out with it because maybe they have some mana, they get to brainstorm, find something else. Please don't hit my Urborg. Oh, okay. Now we're obviously in trouble from this situation, but we have black mana. Another land, and we can start slashering up. A wasteland. Oh no, our Urborg. Like, if you want to play this game, opponent, we are the one with the clock in play. We've kind of turned off reanimate. If we get one more hit in, they can't really reanimate anything apart from our Barrowgoyf. Obviously, Barrowgoyf, pretty good thing to reanimate. They might brainstorm here and concede if they know that they can't break out of this Opposition Agent lock. I got a swamp. Obviously, now that we don't have an Urborg, it's kind of pretty important for them to draw the actual swamp. Alright, let's bash with the Oppo Agent again. And we are just going to slash her up here. Let's see if it really is unstoppable. It just got stopped. What a poorly named card. More like stoppable slasher, right? My Splinter Twin. Or Deceiver Exarch, I guess. Alright, they're entombing. So we get to search their deck for any card we want. So what card is the scariest thing they can draw? Psychic Frog is pretty bad news for us. A reanimation spell, not amazing for us. Don't really want them to have a Psychic Frog. This is an interesting choice here. So they have 2 Fatal Pushes left. That's all their removal. So we could take a Fatal Push out here and make sure that we can answer a Frog or potentially a Barrowgoyf if they get one. This is really interesting, actually. I don't really want them to draw a Metamorphosis Fanatic, because that's something they can just play off the top and it does a lot of work. Because that's just bigger than the things we've got. So maybe I don't want them to have this. They cast a Psychic Frog. They can certainly put a load of stuff into it, but we have an Unstoppable Slasher. Yeah, this is tough. We could take the Animate Dead and then Animate Dead our own Barrowgoyf or whatever. I don't think there's a way here that we can win the game straight up. So I think the choice really is take a Metamorphosis Fanatic out of the deck or take a Fatal Push. I think we take the Fatal Push. So we know they've just got a bunch of stinky lands in hand. They drew the Reanimate. Okay, so we need to find a way to put a card in our graveyard. That doesn't really do it. So we can play the Unstoppable Slasher here. That rip was pretty darn good. Oh my lord. What is going on here, opponent? Stop it. They don't have anything to get back, at least. They just entombed to give us a free card from their deck, and now they're ahead. What is going on? Alright, this has Death Touch, so we will get the Death Touch going. Chrome Mox, not interested in that one. We can double block this Fanatic and lose both of our creatures. That feels terrible. We can take 4 and then crack back for 6, so we'll be doing 2 damage, so our opponent will end up losing life overall in the exchange. I don't like it, but I think that's the play. Just get another Oppo agent out. Unstoppable Slasher is nearly ready to start slashing. So close. Bash for 6. And our opponent goes up to 10. And then any black card gives us lethal with the Bloodletter. Alternatively, we can hold back with the Slasher and trade it off with the Metamorphosis Fanatic. Our opponent might be in a situation where they need to hold back, but then they'll just be trading their Fanatic for our Slasher, so I think they should be attacking here. Yeah, our opponent agrees. I can't remember what the 2 cards our opponent had, or all the cards our opponent had in hand. I think we've seen them all now. I think it was 3 lands. 2 cards left in our opponent's hand. A black swamp, sorry. Alright, Bloodletter of... Alright, are we going to Splinter Twin our opponent? Are we doing it? They have a Fatal Push and a Troll of Khazad-dûm. Okay, I'll take this under City Sewers, I guess. So they have to Fatal Push our Slasher here, right? They could Fatal Push this Bloodletter, but then they take 8 and then die. So they are dead either way, right? It's deterministic. Alright. We Splinter Twin somebody. Sort of. I'll take it. Sideboarding. Let's get these Leylines in, shall we? Leylines are good. Edicts are good. I'm going to trim some of this stuff. Probably another one of those. I think that's what we ended up with last time and it felt okay. So let's just jam again. I like the Leyline, but the rest of our hand doesn't really play. We got 2 draw steps to find a land. Half of our deck is mana. So I think we keep. The power of Leyline in this matchup is pretty strong. Our opponent has to pivot onto a Psychic Frog, and we have an answer for Psychic Frog. So if this hand didn't have... There we go, there's a land. So if this hand didn't have an answer to Psychic Frog, just had the Leyline, I'd be less inclined to keep it with the fact that it answers both things our opponent has. And all we have to do is draw land when it's the most abundant thing in our deck. That sounds pretty good to me. Alright, our opponent not cracking this fetch. Are they fearing what we can offer here? Alright, look at that, another land. Excellent. Not respecting the Oppo agent there. They got rid of a Wasteland. Makes sense. I suspect if our opponent had full knowledge of our list, they might even board out a Wasteland or 2. An Unstoppable Slasher with no regard for human life. Alright, let's get the Slasher down. We don't care about Entomb because we have the Leyline. I guess worst case scenario, they go Petty Theft and Entomb. Right, just a daze. I can live with that. If they reanimate this and we kill it, it comes back under our control. So we don't care about that one being reanimated. Also, when our opponent's on a very healthy life total, that's the best time to be getting your slashers in. And if whatever we were playing was getting dazed, then maybe we just want to just keep firing these opposition agents till our opponent loses. But they've got mana underneath them, so the opposition agent isn't stopping that. Entomb doesn't work, so they don't care about that. It's just the cyclers, really, and land drop number 4. It does make it more difficult to shuffle after a brainstorm, which is not nothing. There's a fetch land. You want to crack it now, opponent, because you know you play opposition agent. They're reanimating our little friend here. Wouldn't mind having some more mana. Okay, I'll play this Chrome Mox out. Spin off one of our opposition agents. So we can either kill this thing, or we can try and oppo agent and trade with it. If our opponent cracks this fetch hand at end step, then I think we oppo agent. The information we get from our opponent's hand is so good. If they just go to attacks, I think we Sheoldred Edict this. Metamorphosis Fanatic. Sure. So now they're casting this one. So I think this means that we want to try and trade off our opposition agent for their slasher, because this will come back under our control. 3 cards left in our opponent's hand. Got Force of Will over there. Right, they're cracking the fetch down in response. That's an obvious one. Please let me get this block off. Really want to get this block off. Did not get the block off. That is somewhat frustrating. That puts us down to 9. We're getting killed by our own slasher here. Leyline of the Void. Not now, Leyline of the Void. So, how big is Barrowgoyf? Barrowgoyf is a 1-2. It does have Death Touch, so it will always trade, though. I think that is the line. So we block the slasher, and then we fire off the Edict on the Fanatic. That is what we're going for. If we draw a land, maybe we get to double spell with an oppo agent and a Edict next turn. A Brainstorm. They're looking for a removal spell of some kind. If they attack us for 6, that puts us to 3, and then we go down to 1 off of the Unstoppable Slasher trigger. Good old Metamorphosis Fanatic. What a friendly little critter that is. Thoughtseize is blisteringly good here. Yikes, they take our Sheoldred's Edict. So that means we probably have to block the Fanatic now. Which means we take 2, go down to 7, then we lose 4, go down to 3. But our opposition agent can block the Unstoppable Slasher next turn. Jesus. So now we take 7, we go to 1. What is our out here? Yeah, our opponent's draws here were pretty phenomenal. We shut off all their graveyard stuff and it didn't matter. There's a reason why this is the best deck that's going to get 2 to 3 bans, I suspect, in the next 6 to 9 months. Okay. We get to continue playing the game. I'll take that. If our opponent casts some kind of cantrip, maybe we get to pop off here and take the slasher out of play, and then we can start working on those stun counters. So we are hoping they cast like a Brainstorm here and just absolutely let us wreak havoc. That would be the ideal situation. Psychic Frog. That is another problem to deal with on the next turn. The way this game has gone, I imagine our opponent has some random card I've not seen before that answers our Bowmasters cleanly. Maybe they're going to Stern Scalding us. That'll do. Putting our opponent for 1. And under the bus we go. What is our out from here? I don't know. I don't think there is one. It's certainly not Leyline of the Void. Okay. Yeah, our opponent gets us there. Yikes. That was a particularly good selection of rips from our opponent there. There's not really much we can do about that one. I still think we're, you know, pretty decent into this matchup. As decent as anyone can be. But the thing is, the top level of the hands in that blue-black deck are basically going to beat anyone. Like, it has draws that can just smash up anyone and play around whatever. Leyline of the Void. We have an answer to Frog. We have a mediocre creature. We have a lot of land underneath us. I think we still keep this. Like, the way we lose this game is just getting graveyard stuff going on. We have a medium creature. Like, this might not even be doing that much against our opponent at this stage. Let's get that ritual going. Boggart Trawler. Out of there with your graveyard. Alright. We spent 2 cards to make a 3-1 on turn 1. But if we get our opponent's life total low, they won't ever be able to reanimate our creatures. They milled off an Entomb. Just play the Swamp. We need to start drawing some gas here. We need our, whatever our new Phyrexian Arena thing is called. Demon Arena. So our opponent has to consider Orcish Bowmasters here. They're just going to play Psychic Frog, aren't they? There it is. So we're not going to kill this on our turn, on their turn. We're going to kill it on our turn with a Sheoldred's Edict. And we're not going to mess around trying to make them block and bin off cards. I just don't think that's a worthwhile game to play. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. Goodbye, opponent's creature, hopefully. Alright, we continue to attack. Just answering things one at a time. Can't believe we lost that game where they cast an Entomb with no cards, relevant cards in hand, and then just immediately hit their 2 best top decks. That was wild. Okay. My Boggart Trawler is gone. That gives them a juicy goblin to reanimate there. A Barrowgoyf. I will play out this Ancient Tomb. I will hold this up to pay for dazes. Alright, we're in with a good creature and they've just burned a removal spell. That might be because they had another removal spell. So they were okay to burn the first one. So we might be seeing another Edict here or Fetch Land Push. Alright, they're going to reanimate this and exile our graveyard. How is that lining up so well? That's so wild. Okay, so we have a 0-1 Barrowgoyf and our opponent has the bigger creature right now. Oh wow, wowzers trousers indeed. It's our turn to run hot. Let's see if we can get this. Get out of here, Boggart Trawler. Alright, now we are cooking. I'll take a card. It was not a creature. But cantrips are bad for our opponent. Their graveyard stuff is bad. Psychic Frog doesn't match up amazingly into a Barrowgoyf. They're going to spend this wasteland on our Ancient Tomb. Be my guest. We don't care about that one. We're ahead on board. We just need to get over the finish line with what we got here. Love seeing a removal spell here. Our opponent could have a Bowmaster of their own, but it doesn't matter because they ping our Bowmasters down anyway. We just want to push for damage here. 2 damage. I would like to mill 2 cards. I will take another Barrowgoyf, please. The top 4 cards on my library were Atraxa and 3 times Entomb. I'm glad. They did rip hotter than the sun last game, so it's nice for us to have a go back. We're casting that ritual there, so firstly our Barrowgoyf gets larger. Secondly, our Barrowgoyf gets played around days. They clearly don't have a force, maybe they have a daze. So we got 6, 7, 8 damage. What have you got, opponent? An Entomb. Another Entomb. That's why we board in the Leylines. Alright, so we managed to get the match after our opponent had... Was that... I'm trying to remember if the game where they Entombed with nothing was the one they won or not. Yeah, powerful sideboards are powerful. I think maybe they should have pivoted slightly more after they saw the Leyline, but we'll see. Metamorphosis Fanatic, pretty busto though. Alright, that's 4 rounds in the book, and we are currently 3-1 with MONOBLACK SPLINTER TWIN, and we've kind of done the thing once, so this last round we're not going to board out any copies of our combo, because we want to see it pop off one time. We're on the play. We can't do anything exciting on turn 1, but we can do a turn 2 Slasher, and we can lead off on a Swamp so we don't have to worry about getting wastelanded or any of that nonsense. Are we playing it into 8 cast? I haven't seen 8 cast in a very long time. How does that impact how we're supposed to play this one out? Is this going to be an Emery? Because that's kind of an annoying one for us to... Alright, so I guess we know what's going into the Chalice of the Void now. Understood. Let's see if we can slash him up. A Swamp. A Chrome Mox, imprinting, a Fatal Push. Let's get the slash again. Maybe we draw the Demon next turn and we just get to win the game with the actual combo that we've been trying to do this whole league. It is kind of nice to have a sort of I win button. It's not quite the same as Splinter Twin where infinite is good instead of I have to connect with this one creature. It's close enough. Patchwork Automata. What number of zeros are they going to play now? Now, you know what doesn't care about the power of a creature? A creature with Death Touch. So we can jam a Barrowgoyf as well to have a Death Touch creature on blocks if we want it. Interesting game so far. Let's see how good the Slasher is. Let's slash you up. They're definitely not blocking here. Alright, our opponent just took a whopping 11 damage from our creature. That's not too shabby, is it? Would I like to play this Ancient Tomb out? Yes. Would I like to use it to cast our Barrowgoyf? Our opponent is not a Daze deck, so I don't think it matters here. I think we can just be wary of our life total here. We can always target ourselves with the Trawler so that we don't shrink the Barrowgoyf. We can do that pre-combat, then attack with the Barrowgoyf. Ancient Tomb. Do you want to attack that opponent? So we can play something like a Cap Cannoneer, which we can kind of just attack into. Sai Master Thoughttress. Now that is a different annoying problem, because that's lots of little guys, which is very good against our Death Touch guys. Alright, so they're casting this so they can get a trigger on their things, even though it's going to be exiled. Not exiled, in the graveyard, sorry. Alright, a 1-1 token. Pretty good. Please don't have any more. Are you attacking? They are not attacking. A Dark Ritual. So we can grow this guy instant speed. And that might surprise our opponent. So we can make this a 2/3, which will not live. But we gain an additional life, and we're not using this card anyway. We'll just cast on whatever. We just want this in the graveyard so we gain 1 extra life. So now I think we are casting Boggart Trawler. It's not a great guy, but it's the guy we have. Are we going to exile anyone's graveyard? We have to target a player. I think... So we have Creature Instant. We can put another instant in easily. They have got Artifact, Creature. Artifact is obviously one we're not going to have in. But they could have something like an Emery. So do we want to risk them having an Emery that lets them play these things out? So if we target ourselves, our next Barrowgoyf small, I think we do just target our opponent here. We don't want to get an Emery doing Howling Mines shenanigans. Especially when they've got a Psy, because that's just going to spin out of control. They clearly don't have anything else they can play off, get abilities from the Psy. Certainly not free ones, anyway. So we're going to have to... Okay, Urza Saga, that is a very potent card. A Mox Opal, sure. Another annoying 1/1 for us to deal with. Oh dear. Sojourner's Companion. I'm not sure we necessarily have the tools to beat Psy spam here. We keep the Star Ritual in hand in case we draw a Chrome Mox and want to do something there. We kind of need to take to the skies and trample over, but we can't really trample over what we got. Attack with the Boggart Trawler feels bad. It trades for a Thought Taken. But we will continue to be stopped with our stoppable slasher. Now, just whittling away a creature each turn is fine. Our opponent doesn't have any cards left in hand. So they're just going to have what comes off of this saga, which is obviously devastating and lots of power that's going to be much bigger than anything that we've got going on. Okay, so now the saga can crank out some enormous friends. They're like, what, 6s? And then they'll immediately become 8s on the next turn. That doesn't seem great to me. How are we going to get through this? Oh dear. Thought Monitor. So we need some sort of Orcish Bowmaster action, I think, is the only way we're going to get around this one. Maybe we can get a big 6/6 blocker and then chump them for a few turns. But this is just... I think this is snowballed a little bit too far out of control for us. I don't want any part of that anymore. Okay, so Vexing Bauble shreds all their zeros. Let's have some of that action. Plague Engineer on Thopter. I want some of that action. Sheoldred's Edict does not seem great here. Hymn to Tourach, not really what I'm about either. So we've got 6 cards here. Now, I did say that I would not board out any of our combo because we want to see it happen. And I'm going to hold myself to that, which means we need to find the cuts somewhere else. So even though I think it would be right to board these out, that's not how we're playing this one. So, I like this one. Our opponent searches their library only with Urza Saga, which is obviously a big deal. But maybe we take out the Oppo agents in favour of the Plague Engineers. How much do I like the Sheoldred's Edict? Are the Sheoldred's Edict just bad here? Maybe they are. I don't know. Get 1 Boggart Trawler. It should be a Swamp. Should it be a Swamp or a Boggart Trawler? Probably Boggart. This can ruin their graveyard. We'll take out 1 Swamp. I need to find 1 more cut. And I said I wouldn't cut any of these, so I'm not going to. So what is going to be the cut here? Barrowgoyf feels pretty good into what our opponent's doing. Are we like hedging by removing a removal spell? Maybe we'll get rid of one of the ones that doesn't work into Chalice. Try that. Okay. Let's slash our opponent up good here. We got 11 damage with the first hit last time. See if we can do something similar. We can follow up with the Bowmasters, which can really wreck with what a lot of their deck is trying to accomplish. Dark Ritual. Unstoppable Slasher. Let's see if this time it doesn't get stopped. An Urza Saga. So that means they have an Ancient Tomb. We don't get to ping them off of this bauble if they crack it now. But they might keep it in play to make their guy bigger. And they did exactly that. So if we attack them now, I think we are going to try and get them with this Bowmasters. So we could have pinged them for 1 more. And it would have gotten us a little bit more damage. But I think our plan is throw the Bowmasters down, Fatal Push the token, try and swing for the win. A Patchwork Automata. That has Ward. That's a little bit annoying. A Shadow Spear. Also annoying. So we need to draw a land so that we can cast... Oh, a Frogmite as well. Yes, we need a land so we can Fatal Push this Patchwork before it gets a little bit out of control. Let's get this Bowboys in. Did not draw the land. That is somewhat on the awkward side here. So this Shadow Spear Definitely threatening to run away with things a bit. So if we attack with this, it will trade with anything. Like, they have to put the patchwork underneath it if they want it to die. And obviously, killing the unstoppable slasher, not necessarily the best idea, because it does come back. Oh wow, we're getting a trade here. That is pretty exciting to me. So am I supposed to fatal push this now, so they can't get an attack in next turn? I think so. This means they can't equip Shadow Spear to their creature anymore. So they won't be able to attack with a Shadow Spear. Alright, so they're paying 2 life, so going to 4 here. This means they must have an ability to generate 2 mana, so they have a land in hand and can get a Mox here. And that gives them the ability to equip the Shadow Spear. There it is. Thought Monitor. That is an interesting choice when we have a Bowmasters in play. They're bouncing our Bowmasters in response. This means they might not be able to equip the Shadow Spear. Maybe that was a mistake. It must have been a mistake, and then they just had to react to it. But they did manage to draw 2 mana sources which allow them to equip the Shadow Spear, which is pretty unfortunate for us. They did not equip the Shadow Spear. Okay. What is our plan here? We have 4 mana, so we can play another unstoppable slasher, or we can play a giant Barrowgoyf. I think I want another slasher. Like the death touch here is just really, really handy. So our opponent is on empty over there. They can crack this Mishra's Bauble if they want to, because we didn't play the Bowmasters. But they are relying on that for Metalcraft and for making their guy large. But they can trade. That rip is pretty good. Like, might be rip for us. So what are we going to do? Stick the Shadow Spear on the construct. Bash for 9. Gain 9 life. We trade off with a slasher. They still gain a bunch of life though by doing that. Right, we do be slashing today. We might be playing a 3rd slasher here. I will take this block. They offer it. Yeah, they want to get the life. Death touch it is. They're going to equip. Okay, they're going to make a Patchwork Automata. That's not so scary when they don't have that many artifacts kicking around. In hand, that is. Because they've only got 1 card. Alright. A swamp. So we can do some more slashing, or we can do some more Bowmastering. What is the play here? Is it more slashing? Like, you came here to watch me play Unstoppable Slasher. And we probably should have boarded some of them out, because I don't think the card's actually that good. But here we are. So we're going to be just having all the slashing all the time. We could have attacked with the Orc Army because we know it could trade for something, but then we would be locked into doing a Bowmaster line. This way we just have unstoppable slashers all the way down. And you can gain a lot of life, but it's not staying on your life total. So now we're going to be looking at jamming a Barrowgoyf. Okay, so we're going to get in for 3 life. That's not so bad. Oh, they're getting in for more damages here. So we have double slashers coming in. Okay. That is interesting, because we can jam this Bowmasters and take out one of these Thopters. Ping this one. Ping again. A Boggart Trawler. It's not really what I'm about here, is it? How many slashers are we attacking with? If they both connect, so they'll take... I know. Like, we just swing with everything here, right? That's got to be correct. So if they block 1 slasher, they lose their guy, which is good for us, obviously. And then they take 5, and then they take another 4. When we play this, we will not play the life, obviously. We just want more mana in play. Our opponent can't do like the big draw engines, which are some of the scarier things our opponent can do. Because the Bowmaster will be doing some real work then. And we got some slashing going on soon. What can they have from this position? This gives them a little bit of life, so they can maybe do something with an Ancient Tomb. Maybe you can play the Demon. Right. Another 1/1 from Otawara. I don't think that gets them out of this bind. They have to block with everything here. So if we attack with these, if they block this, then they're going to die to the slasher trigger. If they block here, they take 4. That means they go to 3, and they lose half, they lose half. So we can keep the Bowmasters back here. Like, Dismember's not going to work out well for them. We're getting slashed. We're doing the slashings. Alright. Triple slasher triggers. Because it's rounded up, it does kill them. Alright, we get a game 3 out of our opponent. Part of me thinks we should have this swamp back in the deck. Truth be told. How many baubles do I want? Do I just want 3 baubles? Because our opponent gets to go first. They get a lot worse than the draw. And we are keeping our combo in like I said we would. I would like some more removal. Would I like removal more than the baubles? Maybe that's true. Alright. Pretty close to our regular configuration here. We named Thopter, we shut down their card draw engine. Is that good? Am I keeping a 5-lander? That's a lot of lands. A single counterspell and that kind of scuppers us. But we can ping down something. We won't be getting ruined by Sai. We've got some nice mana sinks in our deck as well. It certainly sounds like I'm trying to convince myself to keep this, doesn't it? A mulligan to 6. I am going to keep this. The thing I'm most scared of, I think, from our opponent's deck is Sai. I think we can beat a lot of the other things, but Sai can just go so wide that it wrecks us. So having the card that answers that. Alright, opponent's mulligan to 5. Now, if we just brick and draw a load of lands, then we lose. Fair enough. But I like our tools for this matchup. And we have a lot of good draws. Our hand also doesn't care about Chalice. Like, we could mull, have a bunch of 1-drops. Our opponent just drops a Chalice. And then we're just cooked. Don't do anything too explosive, please, opponent. Alright, Mox Opal is online. Okay, you can have a Frogmite. I'll allow a Frogmite. This Boggart Trawler is almost certainly going to be a creature. So our plan next turn is to Bowmasters, ping, and take out the Frogmite. Another Frogmite. Oh, we're kicking. Alright, we got some of our combo going. I'm just going to play the Bowmasters here without tapping an Ancient Tomb. Our opponent doesn't run Daze, they run Metallic Rebuke, and we can't pay for that anyway. 2 Frogmites. Here they come. Ping 1. Just go to blocks. Trade this off for half a card. Not bad. Now all their draw stuff looks really bad. Like their Thought Casts and Thought Monitors. Ancient Tomb. Okay, I'm going to have to read this one. When inside blocks becomes a target with spell or ability, it deals damage to each opponent. Okay. I guess our creature is just going to name Toy. Didn't know Toy was a creature type, to be honest with you. But here we are. So now we can play the Bloodletter of Alcla... I'm going to call it Bloodletter of Alcatraz. Aclazotz. Probably attack with the Frogmite. It's clearly worth more than a Plague Engineer. Ouch. Yeah. Giggling Skitterspike. That was a new one by me. Pretty cool, though. No, they clearly didn't say ability. It's just spell. Unlike Nadu. Play the demon. Well, that's bash for some. We have a 2/4 to block their Frogmite now. Our creature's hit with double the power. I don't believe our opponent's attacking here. Oh, we can double. Happy to trade off this Frogmite at this point. Take them off some Metalcraft. It's naming Toy. That's not a very useful thing for it to name. Our opponent's mulligan to 5 certainly helped us out there. And I did say the Plague Engineer would be good. Imagine if they just had that giggling Skitterspike thing and could make it monstrous. Alright, our opponent has scooped it up. That is the end of the match. That is the end of the league. And look at that. We put on a 4-1 with MONOBLACK SPLINTER TWIN. Alright, pretty happy with the 4-1 with this one. So how do we feel about the deck? Well, I think the weakest part of the deck is the Splinter Twin combo that we have running. Like, the Unstoppable Slasher does not really feel good enough. Maybe if you ran it in a deck with more removal, so it's more likely to connect, that might be a good idea. But if you're running stuff to power it out early, you're incentivized to play big haymakers like your opposition agent type stuff, which can lock people out of the game. Barrowgoyf was just, you know, just Barrowgoyf. It's a good card. Makes sense to have it. What I did like a lot, though, was this Unholy Annex Ritual Chamber thing. This was probably my favourite card I played in this league. It wasn't always the best card we played, but I just love it. I think the design is really sweet. I'm always trying to find Phyrexian Arena equivalents that we can play off of Ancient Tomb plus Chrome Mox. And this ticks that box in a big way for me. I am a huge fan of this one. It's Phyrexian Arena that already has a built-in card draw of a 6/6 demon attached to it, and then sometimes starts draining your opponent out. This feels like one to keep an eye on, and I will definitely be dabbling with this card more in future. As for this combo, I might try and rejigger it. I'm not really sure how to make it work better, because it is kind of clunky. But when I saw card spoiled, I was like, okay, there's got to be a way to make this into like a one-hit KO, and then we found it pretty quickly, and then it kind of like built itself out. Someone told me that people in Pioneer are doing something similar, but I have no idea what's happening in Pioneer, so I'll take your word for it. But yeah, deck is sweet. I love playing mono black decks. You probably see them a fair bit on the channel. This one felt pretty decent. I think ramping into Opposition Agent is pretty good in a metagame full of Entombs and Doomsday. It's like two of the sort of 4 decks that people are playing, sort of the top end. So that's pretty tasty. We could definitely get a bit more spicy with our mana base here and try and add in maybe some more spell lands. Obviously 3 life is a lot, especially if we're going to be having our Pseudo Phyrexian Arena. We could add some more demons. There's Abyssal Persecutor where you can't win the game while it's in play, so you would need a way of sacrificing that, so that would take you in a very different direction. There's the Desecration Demon, I think it's called, which is a 4-mana 6/6 Trampler. Trample will be quite good against these little side tokens for sure. But a 6/6 Trampler, and at the beginning of each combat, your opponent can sacrifice a creature to put a counter on it and tap it. So it can kind of be like the Abyss, or it can just start cracking, and the more they sack to it, the bigger it gets, and it becomes more of a problem. That would probably be my first choice of demon. Now, the downside with that demon is you don't get to choose what your opponent chooses, right? But creatures in Legacy are good, so people are going to sacrifice good creatures if they want to sacrifice it, and that's fine. I don't mind that. So that's probably where I would go to add another demon into this one to make the demon package a little bit better. If you want to get really spicy, you could splash red and play Chaos Defiler, which is a demon, and that card is quite the spicy meatball. I don't think we're quite into Cavern of Souls for demons yet, but maybe we could turn this more into a demon deck. I'm not quite sure. If you've got any thoughts on how to rebuild this or change it, I think trying to splash red would be a problem, because when you're trying to do these decks where you're ramping out the Dark Ritual and Chrome Mox, Ancient Tomb type thing, as soon as you start adding in other colours, it kind of falls apart a little bit and gets a bit tricky. And unless you have Cavern of Souls to sort of glue that together, like you saw with the initiative decks once upon a time, that is going to be a problem. And even with those decks, it still can be a problem that you can't always cast all your spells, unlike if you're playing like mono black or mono red or whatever you're ramping out. But yeah, deck felt pretty good. Do I think this is the future? Certainly not, but it's certainly a fun one, and we can definitely improve along this. And we've managed to play with some cards I've not played with before, and we found a new card that we have all fallen in love with, I hope. Who doesn't love making 6/6 flying demons? Looks a bit bad when your opponent plays a Murktide. There's not that much Murktide around right now. Most people are just trying to reanimate stuff and playing Frog. And a 6/6 demon might be big enough to tangle with Frog. It certainly was on one occasion, so maybe that can be a thing that we can lean into, especially if we're doing stuff with big mana. But yeah, deck felt sweet, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Alright, we are done now, so please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm getting close to 4,000 subs, which would be quite a nice little benchmark, so if you can help me get there, that'd be wonderful. If you know people who are interested in Legacy, by all means, send them my content. Alright, thank you so much again, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepts, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepts guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.